On today's video, we're discussing the hottest topics of Chiefs training camp and also taking a look at some new, old faces that are back with the team. Let's talk about it.
We're all chiefed up and we're back with another podcast for that ass. Make sure to hit that like button for us, get this out to more Chiefs fans. And also, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, do your boys a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 50K subscribers before the Super Bowl.
Let's go.
Mike, let's talk about Chiefs training camp, baby. It's football season.
It's football season, Steve. We're back. There's been 3 full days of training camp. By the time you guys are watching this, we probably finished a 4th. But the number one story I think so far is Xavier Worthy missing a lot of camp with being sick. Pete Sweeney wrote today, for the 2nd day in a row, Xavier Worthy looks to be out of practice. The Chiefs said he had an illness on Monday, and he then got on the podium after practice. He said he's ill, he's getting better, but not able to practice yet. That's what he had to say about Xavier missing 2 straight days. So I don't know if he's actually going to be able to practice on Wednesday. But if he does, Steve, maybe it'll silence some people. If not, do they have an argument here and a gripe that this guy's injury prone?
Well, there's illnesses and there's injuries, and I think you have to separate the two. They're not the same thing. You can't say someone's injury prone if they get sick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire missed a lot of the season last year with sickness. I thought that was strange, but you can't lump it together. I think he's fine.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if he were missing still because of the hammy, that's a problem. But I've seen a lot of people saying, look, injury prone, he's giving me vibes of Greg Oden. He's giving me vibes of Kadarius Toney. I think it's a little extreme right now. Look, he's probably caught the funk. He's got something going. He's going to be back. He's going to be fine. And look, when he did play, he made some big plays. He had the play of the day on Sunday on the opening day. People were horned up about it, Steve.
Absolutely, Mike. Get that boy some orange juice. Get him some vitamin C tablets and get his ass back out there. That way all the sickness can come from those touchdown catches.
Right. Get that boy some zinc, and let's move on, Steve. Number 2 story of camp is the return of the Chiefs' deep passing game. They said it was an area of emphasis throughout the offseason training program, and right on cue, it was working well during Tuesday's practice. It also worked on Sunday. 3 instances stood out in particular. Mahomes with a beautiful pitch and catch to wide receiver Rashee Rice in 11-on-11s, and he also hit Hollywood Brown for a big one in 7-on-7, Steve. The deep passing game is back, and all these wide receivers are showing out. Hollywood is looking like a true deep threat, and Rashee Rice is looking like back in his heyday, just picking on everybody at SMU out there.
So it's training camp, right? So everybody can't get too excited about it, but it's okay to be kind of excited. We had a very stagnant offense last year, so any kind of sign of life, we're going to be a little horned up about. And that's the name of the game right now for the Chiefs, is we're not checking down. Let's push the ball down the field. We want to get back to quick strike, score quick offense. That's what they want to do. That's what Andy wants to do, and I think he's going to make sure it happens.
Right. Andy actually said today that he's not going to call any more plays than usual about forcing the ball down the field. It's all about Mahomes being comfortable, taking the reads, taking what's there, and maybe trying to make a few plays. And now I think he's got the wide receivers to do it, Steve. MVS, he was not that deep threat we all thought he was going to be, and he was overpaid. But speaking of not overpaid and not a wide receiver that's catching on right now, the number 3 biggest story of camp so far happened yesterday on Tuesday, Steve. Matt Derrick reported Patrick Mahomes started 11-on-11 with 6 consecutive completions before his final throw was bobbled by Skyy Moore, and it turned into an interception by Trent McDuffie. Look at the views. 300. No, it's an interception. He wrote it wrong. He corrected it. So don't you correct me, Steven. 349K views, 41 reposts, 159 quotes, 513 likes, and 29 bookmarks. And every comment in the comment section was Skyy Moore hate, Steve.
He can't be doing this stuff if he wants better perception. I'm sorry, but you're on the hot seat. Everyone hates you anyway. It's pretty obvious. Like, even if you try to defend Skyy Moore a little bit, you're going to get attacked because people are over it. They're done with him. They've done wrote him off. And now you're out here bobbling the ball around in camp. It's not a good look, bud. It's not a good look.
Right. Look, I talked to somebody today on X, and I was like, look, they're like, how many more excuses are you guys going to make? I'm not really making excuses. Like, we've become a channel to where just because we're not on the pitchfork train with this guy, we've become a Skyy Moore sympathizer in the eyes of people. And it's not that. We're just 2 dudes saying, give a rookie deal guy his 4 rookie years to get this together, Steve. That's what everybody, like, you should always have the grace. I get it. We're a big, going on a 3-peat. We're a good team. Rashee Rice come in, done better than expected, this and that and everything else. But look, Skyy, again, he come from a small college. He doesn't do a lot of the same things. And last year, the entire wide receiver room was complete ass. It killed everybody. All of the momentum, all their confidence was destroyed. I just don't think that you can cut this guy yet again on the third year of his deal. But is he on the bubble? He is. And could he be a camp casualty? That's possible too.
Mike, if it wasn't Skyy Moore, if it was anyone else that had that happen, it would be insignificant. But it's going to be totally blown out of proportion because it is Skyy Moore. And it's because, like we said, he's on the hot seat. He's on the bubble. People are over it. But the thing about it is, what you really have to ask yourself, whether you hate Skyy Moore or not, is Skyy Moore really worse than a wide receiver 6 on a team?
People would say yes, probably. Look, pads come on this week. I want to say Friday. This is the time. Skyy Moore's got to turn it on. Like, no pads, past camp. You can bobble here and there. Not a big deal. It probably wouldn't even have been noticed if it wouldn't have got picked off by Trent McDuffie. So the point is, he's got plenty of camp ahead of him. He can still make good plays. He can still show progression. Everybody has to take a chill pill. But speaking of some injuries going on in the kingdom, Steve, and some new faces, on Sunday, the Chiefs signed a familiar face, Isaiah Gathings, because tight end Garrett Prince suffered an apparent foot injury at the rookie QB head start pre-camp they had, Steve. So they actually got back Isaiah Gathings. We all know him. They signed another familiar face by waiving promising young safety at training camp. They signed Tyree Gillespie, and they waived Trey Dean in response to the move, Steve. Do any of those moves surprise you? Do any of those moves actually matter?
They don't move me, Mike. I don't care.
They don't move you.
They don't. They're just switching faces out for camp because of injuries, this and that. I think none of the guys mentioned are even close to making the final roster. They're literally camp bodies, maybe practice squad guys. Not worried about it at all. We'll let them do the normal little carousel they have going in camp and not really pay that much attention to it unless it's somebody significant.
Hear ye, hear ye. It's time for Beyond the Kingdom.
Hear ye. Hear ye.
Hear ye. Beyond the Kingdom, we're going outside of Kansas City, and we're looking at league-wide news, Steve. And today, the Cincinnati Bengals have reported that Slim Shady himself is back. Guess who's back, Steve? Look at that haircut from Joe Burrow. Did you have this on the bingo card for 2024?
Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We're going to have a problem here.
Like, what is he doing?
Macaulay Culkin.
You know what I think it is? I think Joe Burrow has to have attention. He's an attention-seeking man. And how can you get everybody to look at you do something outrageous?
Hey, he wanted all eyes on him when he went over to the fashion show. Had the back blown out. Now he's coming back. He's cutting it off. The funny thing I seen was Bengals fans all day long trying to defend his aura, a fictional aura, and they're trying to defend that, Steve. But I took it upon myself to throw out a poll, and I wanted to know who he looks like now. Does he look like? I'm going to let you play. Here we go. First option: does he look like Slim Shady? Like, do you think
Ellen
he looks
DeGeneres.
like Slim Shady? It could be. Number 2, Jonah Hill. Look at that one. That's a good one. That is a great one. Could he look like Justin Bieber?
Bieber pulls it off a little better than Joe Burrow. Just a couple of JBs with blonde hair, baby.
Couple JBs. Last but not least, but this is who I think he looks like the most. Kristen Stewart, our favorite vampire lover from Twilight, Steve. I think Joe Burrow, they could be brother and sister.
Well, if you mix what he was wearing at the fashion show with the new haircut, this is it. Like, straight up. My thing is she could probably throw for 1,000 yards to Jamar Chase a season, 1,000 yards to T. Higgins. I mean, Kristen Stewart can do it.
Yeah. She's probably tougher than Joe Burrow. Breaking news, Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb says he's not reporting to training camp unless he gets a new contract, Steve. Is CeeDee Lamb on the block? Is Dallas going to get this done? What's going on? Or is he just going to end his holdout and get in there anyway?
Dallas has to get it done, and CeeDee Lamb knows they have to get it done. CeeDee Lamb, by all metrics, was a top 3 wide receiver last year. People talk about Devontae Adams or whoever. CeeDee Lamb was a top 3 receiver last year statistically. The Cowboys cannot move on from him, or else they have nothing in the receiver room. I think he's got him by the balls, man. He's going to get paid.
Yeah, their receiving corps is pretty much depleted anyway. He is their guy. I don't think they're ever going to trade him. I don't think he was ever on the trade block. It was a fun story saying, well, Brett Veach offered for CeeDee Lamb. Hey, that was all fun, but everybody knows it's a pipe dream. There's no way he's getting out of Dallas. Speaking of a guy that did leave Dallas and he went to the Raiders, Michael Gallup, but he announced he's retiring from the NFL because of injuries, Steve. Sucks to see a guy have to go through so many injuries, and I think he's only 28 years old, by the way. It sucks to see a guy that have to deal with injuries so much they got to end the career at 28. So long, Michael Gallup. But, Steve, if you're playing for the Raiders, I mean, you might as well just hang it up. They ain't doing nothing.
I think that's what happened was he was considering keeping his football career alive. The only team that was going to sign him was the Raiders. He said, nay, I will not suck ass all the time. I'm just going to go ahead and bow out, go to retirement, go to the Bahamas, live it up, play some golf. I know Gallup's a golfer. It does suck. A young guy like that just can't get over injuries. So, yeah, hopefully he has a good retirement, and hopefully he saved up his money.
Hopefully. Last one, Steve. Veteran running back Cam Akers is signing with the Houston Texans. Another person signing with the Texans. They're trying to build that all-star team down there in Houston. Is that a big deal? That takes a guy off the board that everybody said, hey, the Chiefs may be looking for another running back, maybe at the end of camp, maybe before camp's over, if they can't find what they have in-house. And Cam Akers was thrown around. Is this a big deal? Do you think it moves the needle at all for the Houston Texans?
I actually think it's a great signing. I would have thought it would have been a great signing for the Chiefs if they did it because it's a low risk, high reward type thing. Like the guy's had an injury history, so he's not getting like top dollar anymore, but you do know that he can be a very effective back. Like when he's healthy, he's really good. So, I mean, take the risk, see if it works out. I don't think they're losing much if it don't, but I like it for them.
Yeah, I agree. We also run across this little story here, and it goes right with Cam Akers and all that drama there with our running back room. The Jaguars will trade Etienne to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think when you read the article, it goes on to say, if we were to offer. Steve, would the Chiefs ever give up draft compensation or anything for a Travis Etienne? Do we need him? Is that something we need? We seen today in camp, Deneric Prince is taking the majority of first-team reps when Pacheco's coming off the field, so he's definitely slotted in at number 2 right now. Keontae Ingram is running primarily with the number 2s and the 3s, and then Louis Rees-Zammit is not even really getting any runs with the first or second team that I can tell so far. So I do not know. I think it's the Clyde show after that. So Zammit would be 4 at this point, or maybe even 5 after Keontae Ingram. So is that something we could possibly do?
I think Etienne is not a need, but I think it would be a great luxury for the Chiefs because he fits our offense ridiculously well. He's a very dynamic back, a great receiving back. He's very, very fast. I like Travis Etienne. But then again, like you said, we don't have a lot of money to play with. We got a lot of guys to re-sign after the season coming up. I don't think we're giving up any kind of draft capital whatsoever. I think we're okay at running back. Not spectacular, not great, but we're okay. And I think that's where we're going to be at come season start.
Yeah, I think Pacheco's getting to 1,000 yards this year, and I think Clyde can hold it down with Deneric Prince. I think it's going to be fun when we see the pads come on.
That time's yours.
Time is yours, Chiefs
Time's
Kingdom.
yours.
We released this video last week about Brandon Ayuk asking for a trade from the 49ers, and the Chiefs, of course, were linked to getting Brandon Ayuk. Why, Mike? Because he was a guy that was potentially getting traded. He's a wide receiver. He must go to the Chiefs, right?
It's got to be. It's a rumor. It's an available player.
Yeah, but the first comment from KC Fan, he says, been a while since I've commented here, Mike and Steve. Good to see you. Good to see you too, KC Fan. He said, if it's possible and the Chiefs can make it work financially, I would love this. Mike, I'm right there with him. If it were possible, Brandon Ayuk on the Chiefs would be nasty. I just don't think it's possible.
Right. If it were possible, we'd all want it. If there were no salary cap, give me Jay Jetta. Give me him too. I'll take everybody. It's never going to work out. I don't know if Brett Veach is ever going to pay a wide receiver the kind of money that Brandon Ayuk's asking for. More than likely, he's just going to stay in San Francisco, not get traded, and have a miserable season.
He'll probably put up stats, though. You know he will. They're going to keep him around. And the 49ers are not going to want to deal with the Chiefs, which is why Celsic here says there is no way the 49ers help the Chiefs get better. Zero. Zilch. Mike, I'm with him. Not happening.
I mean, it's possible. We're not in the same division, and if we were to give up an ungodly amount of draft capital, I think they would do it.
Mike, we have squashed their hopes and dreams. Not once, but twice.
But we're going to do that whether we get Ayuk or not, Steve.
I get that, but they're not going to help at all. I'm right there with them. Mr. Offensive says, it wouldn't surprise me if Veach went all in on Ayuk if I remember correctly, he tried to trade for him last year. That is correct. I don't know if he actually went through trying to trade or if it was just talked about, but we do know that he's a fan of Brandon Ayuk. He had been since the draft that Ayuk came out in. Mike, what do you think? Do you think that Brett Veach likes him enough? Because we know that he keeps his eyes on players like Kadarius Toney, Richie James, guys that he saw in the draft he liked but couldn't get his hands on, and he'll go after them later. Do you think that's a possibility with Ayuk, or you just think it's almost impossible because of A, the 49ers having to trade him to us, and B, how much you'd have to pay him after the fact?
It's all impossible. We've heard that Brett Veach tried to trade for Ayuk. We've heard that Brett Veach also tried to trade for Deebo Samuel. We've heard he's looked at DK Metcalf. We've heard he's looked at Kevin Lockett. He's looked at Deontay Johnson. He looked at the kid out of the Titans that went to the Eagles, A.J. Brown. We've heard all of this. Some of it's true. We actually heard he was trying to trade the Cardinals for Hopkins before Hopkins actually went to free agency and ended up going to the Titans. So I don't know if it's smoke. I don't know what it is. But I just cannot see Brett Veach making a deal where you give up so much draft capital and then turn around and dropping $30 million a year on a receiver.
That's not the MO right now, man. We're trying to keep this dynasty alive, and you have to do that by drafting well, staying younger, and just putting pieces around the core players like Patrick Mahomes.
Right, and the reason, because everybody's going to say this, well, they offered Tyreek Hill that amount of money. Yes, we drafted Tyreek Hill. You didn't have to give up extra draft capital and then pay him that $30 million per year. And Tyreek Hill still didn't want it. He went somewhere where they offered him a little more money, offered him more guaranteed money, and he didn't have to have taxes taken out of his check.
And you forgot one big thing there. Brandon Ayuk is not Tyreek Hill. They're not on the same level. Close. Josh Zimbauer says they're not going to trade him. They'll keep him, let him be miserable, or hold out, which is what you said, Mike. Doesn't hurt them. They have Debo and McCaffrey. They'll get by without him if he sits. I think that might be like a situation with like Chris Jones last year where he sits for a minute, they get a deal done. Mike, they paid everybody else and their grandma on the team. Why would they just overlook Ayuk over and over again? Especially after a season like last year, we had 1,300 plus yards receiving. I think they know he's a big weapon for them. I think they'll figure out a way to get a deal done.
I think what they're going to do, he's going to hold out a little bit, possibly. If he shows up and plays fine, they probably don't get rid of him. If he holds out a little bit, you may get a team like the Jets that get a little itching if they start winning a few games before the trade deadline, that they might overcompensate for him or something like that. Right. Again, I still think the Jags are in play, and personally, I think the Steelers are still in play for him as well.
Yeah, also on that video, Mike, we talked about Caleb Williams getting his rookie contract taken care of, them paying him a lot of guaranteed money. I said that I didn't know if he was worth all that. We'll have to wait and see. Chris Wright's right there with me. He says, agree. Caleb is not him. Mike, I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. I think that he's come across as soft sometimes. You've seen him crying after losing a game with his mom. You've seen him not show up in big games. By all metrics, he had kind of a bummer year last year. Every time he played a good team, he didn't show up. What do you think? Do you think that it's a little silly to just go all in on this kid already?
I don't. Look, Caleb Williams, he did have a down year last year, but his offensive line was complete trash. He had some pretty good receivers. He made a lot of good plays. There were times where I was watching some film on Brendan Rice or, somebody else, and I would look and I would be like, dude, Caleb Williams made some good plays. Like, he has some Mahomes-esque qualities where he wants to get out of the pocket and make something happen with his feet and his legs, and I think he's got a solid enough arm. Going to Chicago, look, they've not had a good quarterback ever. I think he wins 8 games this year, and they built a statue for him already. So do I think he's going to be the greatest quarterback in the league? No, not by any means. Is he going to be top 10 after his first year? Probably not. But he will eventually, I think, fall into a top 10 quarterback within the next 4 years.
If he doesn't, it's all on him. Ryan Poles went out and got him all the freaking pieces. I was thinking about that offense the other day, Mike, and it's like this guy literally has DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet. Right. And then as far as running backs go, I think they just went and got DeAndre Swift, who's an excellent receiving back. They put all the pieces in place for this kid. So if he doesn't show up, it's on him. And I guess we'll see. Kay Wayne here says Caleb Williams had a down year last year when it was put up or shut up. Let's see what he does before putting him on the board. Same sentiment I had, Mike. I'm with you. I think at times he did have Mahomes-esque plays. But I think there's been a lot of quarterbacks that have come out recent years that have Mahomes-esque traits or something like that, but they're not freaking Mahomes. And that's what people don't learn. So I think this is probably just another case of, man, he kind of looks like Mahomes sometimes, so he's going to be the greatest thing ever, and he's just not Patrick Mahomes.
Well, I think it was ridiculous when they come out with a graphic, and I don't know who did it, but the one that was comparing him head-to-head to Mahomes with arm strength and scrambling ability, and then they put him as more clutch than Mahomes, a 3-time Super Bowl champion who plays at his highest level in the biggest games. Even against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when we got our butts handed to us, it wasn't Mahomes' problem. It was the offensive line. It was the receivers dropping everything. So I just thought that was ridiculous. Anybody on that side of the fence, something's wrong with you. Like, you need to wake up. But other than that, I do think he's going to have a decent year. I believe before camp is over, before preseason's over, Caleb Williams will have a couple highlight plays that will solidify why they took him number 1, in my opinion.
Right. I seen a graphic that said arm strength, Caleb Williams. Accuracy, Caleb Williams. Scrambling ability, Caleb Williams. Winning championships, Mahomes. It's so asinine that they're really on this boat. And the thing that they left off there that I think Caleb Williams actually could have won was pretty fingernails. But they didn't even put that as a metric.
He could have. They should have had another category, Slapnut, the guy who wrote the article. But anyways, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, clicking that bell. Go Chiefs.